My name is Jack Hood. I'm the president of R&B Shores, Robert S. Vance Inn of Court, and tonight we are extraordinarily happy to have Mr. Bill Haltom, an attorney from Memphis, Tennessee, great humorist, to give us some words of wisdom. And he will be introduced by our own Jim Boyer. Jim?
Thank you, Jack. I'd like to say hello to everybody, particularly our mentees. Welcome. Glad you're here. It's my pleasure to talk about and introduce Bill Haltom, who is a trial lawyer, not a litigator. I think he'll explain to us what that means. Part of it means he's had over 100 jury trials in his career, which is phenomenal. If you get to practice law for a while, jury trials don't come along that often. He's a member of the fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, past president of the Memphis Bar Association and the Tennessee Bar. He served as the editor or chair of the board of 4 legal journals, including the ABA Journal. He's written 6 books. He's got a new one coming out he's going to tell us about tonight. So with no further ado, I'll turn it over to Mr. Haltom.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I am delighted to be here. And I want you to know, first of all, I'm a proud Tennessee volunteer, okay? I received my Bachelor of Conservative Arts degree from UT in 1975, my law degree from the Big Orange College of Law. And as you know, the University of Tennessee is not a football school. It's an academic institution. If you have any idea that it's a football school, you haven't been watching us play in recent years. But unlike a lot of Tennessee balls, I love the state of Alabama. And I love Birmingham in particular. And I'm going to tell you why. I have an affinity. I have many things in common with Alabama and with the city of Birmingham. First of all, I'm married to a Tennessee gal who is from South Pittsburgh. That is not South Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That is South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. Now, I don't know if you know the story of South Pittsburgh and its relationship to Birmingham, Alabama. In the 1870s, a group of British investors bought a lot of land in Marion County, Tennessee, because they wanted to develop an iron and steel business there, and the iron ore business. And they actually said their goal, they named the town South Pittsburgh because their goal was to make that town the Pittsburgh of the South. 10 years later, they moved to a place called Birmingham. And you became the Pittsburgh of the South. Okay. So not only do you beat us, you and Auburn and Alabama beat us in football every time we play you, you beat us out for the Pittsburgh of the South title. And I've always said that had they just stayed there in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, we would have a great medical center, University of Tennessee, South Pittsburgh. Paul Feinbaum would be broadcasting from South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. We'd have all the great things from Alabama in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. My second affinity is this. The Haltom children, they're all grown now, but they will tell you if they were here, they spent the best summers of their life in a place called Mentone. Y'all know Mentone? Oh, yeah. The Alabama Alps up there. Mentone, my kids spent every summer of their childhood, I'm about 6 or 7 years old at Camp Mentone. My son Will enjoyed it so much that he became a counselor. Every year through college he stayed there. He is now a teacher in Nanjing, not Nanjing, Alabama, or Nanjing, Tennessee, but in China. And true story. A couple years ago, I went over and visited him, and I said, "Do you miss the United States of America?" He said, "I sure do." I said, "What do you miss most, son?" I thought he was going to say, "I miss you, Daddy." He said, one word. He said, "Mentone." Mentone also, you know, has the southernmost ski resort in the United States, Cloudmine. Any of you ever skied Cloudmine? No. It's open about 15 minutes a year, every year. I try to go there when the temperature drops below 60. It's a fascinating place. And the other reason I love the state of Alabama is I have a lot of good friends here. I haven't tried a case here, but I've worked with fine lawyers here over the years. Tommy Wells, Lee Cooper, my friend Randy Sellers, who he ran off to Virginia Theological Seminary. A lot of good friends here over the years. So I felt an affinity. And also, one last reason why I like to come here. You people are so nice to me. You keep inviting me back to speak. This is the third time I've spoken to the Alabama Law Group in the past year. I spoke down at Fairhope to the Alabama Bar Convention. I spoke to the Federal Public Defenders in Montgomery in December. And here I am tonight. So it's great to be with y'all. Now, I want to talk to you tonight about a topic that at first blush, two topics that you might think have nothing in common. And that's seersucker and civility. Okay? But I'm going to tell you something. I think that seersucker, you notice what I'm wearing tonight, right? This is the perfect lawsuit, you know. Seersucker is the perfect lawsuit. Okay? Somebody asked me when I came in, they said, is it season yet? In my book, Milk and Sugar, by the way, I have written the book on seersucker because, to my knowledge, it's the only book there is on seersucker. But I have a chapter called Everything Season. And there are three seasons, recognized seasons for seersucker. And the season you recognize depends upon, as I say in the words of Jimmy Buffett, your attitude and your latitude is what it depends on. If you live north of what I call the sweet tea line, you know what the sweet tea line is? It's not the Mason-Dixon line. The sweet tea line is, if you go into a restaurant south of the sweet tea line and you ask for tea, you're going to get iced sweet tea. If you go in north, you're going to ask whether they want it hot or cold, sweetened or unsweetened. North of the sweet tea line, the seersucker season is Memorial Day to Labor Day. South of the sweet tea line, the season is Easter to Labor Day. Or, there's the Bill Haltom point of view, that is you wear it when it is hot. That's when you wear it. This is, of course, the seersucker icon. This is great Atticus Finch. Gregory Peck playing Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. I think it's amazing. This movie, the book, excuse me, first Harper Lee's book, followed by the movie, probably has inspired more people to go into our profession than anybody. And here's the great thing about this, the amazing thing about this. It's about a trial lawyer who lost the biggest case of his career. And yet, he's a hero to all of us. By the way, you know, there's a Broadway show version of To Kill a Mockingbird scheduled to open in September. You know, there's a lawsuit about it now because Harper Lee's estate is objecting to the trial. So, as I've said before, for Atticus to lose another case on Broadway, he's got to win a trial or settle a case before then. But I want to talk to you about how we lawyers should dress and how we should behave, because I think they are related topics. And I think they're very, very important. And so, first of all, I want to talk to you about seersucker, about this great fashion invention and the story of how it came about and how it has been embraced literally by the legal profession. And I wrote about this in a book I just happen to have some copies of here tonight called Milk and Sugar, the complete book of seersucker. Seersucker is a Persian word, shir and shakar, means milk and sugar. And it was invented by this man. This man is the Henry Ford of fashion, the Thomas Edison of fabrics. This man is Joseph Haspel. In the early 20th century, Joseph Haspel, in his business in New Orleans, this picture was taken in the 1930s. I'll tell you why this picture was taken. In the early 20th century, he was using seersucker to make overalls and prison garb. It was the working man's fabric because it's so easy to wash. It's so resilient. And so he was making a living making overalls and prison garb out of seersucker, and then he had an epiphany, a brilliant epiphany. He decided to make a suit out of this, which in a pre-air-conditioned South was the perfect thing to wear. And this picture is a reenactment of something he did in the 1920s to unveil the suit. He went to a convention, a clothiers convention in Boca Raton, Florida. They were having a party on the beach. True story. They were having a dinner party on the beach. Joseph Haspel walked out of the beach wearing this all-cotton seersucker suit, plus white shoes, tie, shirt, the whole ensemble. No one had seen a seersucker suit before. He cleared his throat, said, "May I have your attention?" He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a seersucker suit. Watch this." He dove into the Atlantic Ocean in his seersucker suit, splashed around, came back out, and he said, "Within 30 minutes, this suit will be completely dry. It will not need pressing." You know why it doesn't need pressing? Because it's wrinkle chic. It's supposed to be wrinkled. "And I will have dinner with you." And he did that, and that was the big splash for the opening of this. Over the years, this is the Duke of Edinburgh. He became one of the fashion plates over this during World War II. I love this. This is a picture of the Navy wax during the Second World War. They wore seersucker as a uniform. And then, of course, this is my hero from my hometown of Memphis, Elvis Presley. This is with Nancy Sinatra, with the king in seersucker. I think he looks better in that than the white jumpsuit, don't you believe? And another seersucker icon. And then, of course, we come to the great seersucker icon of all time, Gregory Peck and his portrayal as Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. He wore a three-piece seersucker suit in the film. The suit was made for him by Haspel of New Orleans, the originators of the suit. Now, let me tell you why I think seersucker is important. First of all, it is such a wonderful fabric. It is so comfortable to wear, okay? And in the South, really, there's no other suit to wear from basically June to Labor Day. There's no question about this. This is comfortable, and it's just as nice as it can be. But let me tell you something else about seersucker, okay? It is almost impossible to be a jerk when you're wearing a seersucker suit. Seersucker brings out your civility. It brings out the best part of you. I'm going to tell you something. Any of you have a seersucker suit. Jack, I bet you can verify this. When you are wearing a seersucker suit, strangers compliment your suit. People smile when they see you in a seersucker suit. I was walking through the airport in Charlotte, North Carolina the other day, wearing my seersucker suit because it's after Easter, and to me, it's time to wear a seersucker suit. And somebody smiled and said, "Oh, wow, that looks so nice. My daddy used to wear suits like that." And I said, "I bet your daddy was a well-dressed man." And this guy said, "He sure was. He was a nice guy, too, wasn't he?" It's hard to be a jerk in a seersucker suit, okay? You're pleasant. You're smiling. People smile back at you when you're wearing a seersucker suit. Which brings us to the topic that I want to talk about. Oh, here's another seersucker icon. Bobby Lee Cook. This is, of course, Andy Griffith as Matlock. Jack and I were talking about Bobby Lee Cook earlier, the model for Matlock. I'm going to tell you something interesting about Matlock seersucker suits. They weren't seersucker. What happened was, in pre-HD TV, if seersucker was on DVD, it actually blurred. So they had to come up with a faux seersucker for him. This is my late father's all-time favorite lawyer. My father was a Baptist minister, and I did not get the call the family expected. I got a call to another profession. But my daddy used to call me some nights and say, "Did you see Matlock? Did you see what Matlock did tonight?" He would tell me what Matlock did, thinking that I would do this. Now let me tell you something. Why it's important how we dress, okay? This scene for the movie My Cousin Vinny demonstrates how important it is for lawyers to be well dressed. You remember this? Okay, who's this man up here? This is Judge Herman Munster up here. I call him Herman Munster because that's what I remember from my childhood on the Munsters series. This is Fred Gwynn, who was born in the South and portrayed Judge Chamberlain in the movie. That, of course, is My Cousin Vinny, and that is his expert witness, Mona Lisa Vito. And the great thing about this film that I say demonstrates the importance of dress is Vinny shows up at the first trial wearing leather and gets off to a bad start. And one of the best lines of the film is Herman Munster, Judge Munster says, "Mr. Gambini, the next time you appear in my courtroom, you're going to be wearing a suit, and it better be made of some type of cloth." Okay. He should have worn seersucker. It's very important. But here's the transition to civility I want to talk about tonight. This is the seersucker-clad Howard Baker. Howard Baker was a United States Senator from Tennessee. He was also a very great trial lawyer. For 19 years, he was a trial lawyer in Tennessee. He was regarded as one of the best trial lawyers in the state. He tried 63 capital cases in his career. And you think sometimes when you actually get through a primary these days, when the opponents would no doubt bring out that he was handling capital cases. He once said, "I was in the Senate in my life. I was Chief of Staff for the President of the United States. I got to be ambassador to Japan. But the most exhilarating thing I ever did in my life was jury trials." And any of us who have had that experience know what that's like. But Howard Baker wore seersucker. And it was a part of who he was and a part of his civility. This is Seersucker Thursday in the United States Senate. It was started in the late 1990s after Howard Baker left the Senate. And it was started by Senator Trent Lott, a conservative Republican from Mississippi, and Senator Dianne Feinstein, a liberal Democrat from California. They still continue this tradition to this day, although there's fewer numbers. Somebody one time said, "Why in the world do you do this?" And Trent Lott said, "We do it to promote civility." And he said, "I'm just going to tell you this. When Dianne Feinstein and I were doing Seersucker Flash Mob in Seersucker Thursdays in the United States Senate back in the late 90s, we balanced the federal budget, and I don't think that was a coincidence." And this is my own event in Memphis that I'm very proud of. This is the Seersucker Flash Mob, which is held on the Friday before Labor Day each year. It's the end of Seersucker season. It's held in the lobby of the Peabody Hotel in Memphis with the ducks all around us, and you're invited to be a part of it this year. Now, civility. Why is that related to Seersucker? Okay? I really believe that one of the most important issues we face in our country today is the decline of civility. And I believe that lawyers in particular, being the leaders in our society and being role models, we should be role models of civility. Now, I don't have to talk about politics on either side, Republicans or Democrats or whatever. We all know what the current environment is in this country and the lack of civility. This is Leo DeRocher, the famous baseball manager. Anybody remember what he was famous for saying?
Y'all at the umpire all the time.
He said, "Nice guys finish last."
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm afraid that's what a lot of people think about America today. The nice politicians finish last, nice lawyers finish last, because it's based on a concept of civility, which I think is wrong. And that is that civility is weakness. That people who are civil just get pushed around. We're not strong advocates. We're not strong for what we believe in. The tough guys, the tough lawyers, the ones that say that they're right and you're wrong. The tough politicians that say, if you don't agree with me, you're treasonous, that are unwilling to compromise to anything. That is a popular notion. But let me tell you why I think it's wrong in our profession and why it's wrong for the country. My point is, nice lawyers don't finish last. Okay? And I want you to play a little exercise with me before I talk more specifically about this. I want you to think about, and some of you young lawyers have them now, who your mentors are now and who your mentors have been. I'm thinking about my mentor now. I'm thinking about the lawyer I practiced with the first 4 years of my practice, who I carried his briefcase and watched him work. Think about that mentor. Was that mentor a jerk? Was that mentor ruthless? Was that mentor, or was he someone who practiced what I call strategic civility? Who got things done and who was credible because of the way he interacted with judges, the way he interacted with juries, the way he interacted with other lawyers. And I submit to you that the most effective lawyers I've seen in my career, and I'll bet you the most effective lawyers you've seen in your career, have practiced that kind of civility. Now let's start off with this. This is very important. Civility is a crucial cornerstone concept of civilization. Okay? You can't have civilization without civility, by definition. And particularly in a democratic society, which is about diversity, it's about e pluribus unum, it's about people of different points of view and different backgrounds. It's an important concept, a cornerstone concept of democracy. But it's also a very important cornerstone concept of our legal system. And I want to read to you a great quote from my hero, Howard Baker. It's a quote that he said, it's something he said when he was asked one time to define the rule of law. Now, we talk a lot about the rule of law, but we don't really stop often enough and really break down what the rule of law means. But Senator Baker was once asked if he could define the rule of law. And here's what he says that I quote in my book. He says, the rule of law is an interesting phrase. I don't think it's ever really been defined with exactitude. But to me, the rule of law is the lattice work that civilization uses for ordering people's relationships with each other and to govern their conduct. I like that metaphor, the lattice work. That is the law. The law is not statute law. The law is not precedent. It's not Supreme Court decisions or any other court's decision. The law is an accumulation of the determination of mankind to find ways to get along, to respect each other, to have a decent respect for different points of view, and to translate disagreement into some sort of resolution. That's what the law is. And without the law, we would not have civilization. Now, we all know, I'm proud to be a trial lawyer. We all know we live in a contentious world. I've said before that if you're a doctor, you don't have an opposing surgeon coming in during surgery, giving your hand to make the surgery unsuccessful. If you're a trial lawyer, you have an opponent. And yet, again, the most effective trial lawyers I know in that contentious world practice with respect and civility. And I want to talk a little bit more about how that concept works. Chief Justice Warren Burger once said, someone must teach that good manners, disciplined behavior, and civility, by whatever name, are the lubricants that prevent lawsuits from turning into compound. More than that, civility is the glue that keeps an organized society from flying to pieces. Now, I could talk to you a lot about the ethical obligation. You know Rule 3, what it says about our obligations to the judges, our obligations to the tribunal, our obligations to each other, our obligations to adverse counsel. But I'm going to be a little more practical tonight talking about this. Okay? I'm not going to tell you why civility is an ethical obligation. I'm going to tell you why civil lawyers get things done, and why civility is not only the best way to live your life and the happiest way to live your life, it's the best way to practice law. I'll start with this. Judges like nice lawyers. The very first court appearance I made in 1978, my senior partner, John Thomason, took me down. He let me argue the motion. He told me later, after I lost the motion, that he knew they were going to lose, so that's why he let me argue the motion. That made me feel a little bit better. But we walked in the courtroom that day. John said to me, beginning today, you're going to establish credibility with every judge you appear in front of. Whether you're trustworthy, whether you're believable, whether you're credible. He said, you're going to make deposits in the judge's bank of character. And there may come some cases in the future where you have to make some withdrawals. But he told me, he said, it's so important to establish that credibility. I'm married to a retired judge. She has held me in contempt a few times over the years. But I can tell you from that experience that obviously judges like lawyers that practice civility. They're the ones that win. We're the ones that win in the courtroom if you practice that kind of civility. Second, this is very important. Juries like nice lawyers. Juries like nice lawyers. I love to try cases in front of juries. One of my favorite comedians, George Burns, once said, I was married by a judge. I should have asked for a jury. I like juries. One thing I've noticed over the years, and Jack and I were talking about this, what's the first thing you do in a trial if you're a trial lawyer? Voir dire. You pick a juror. You pick a juror. Now, you probably were taught in law school, or people told you that what voir dire is where a lawyer picks a juror. You know what the truth is? It's where a jury picks a lawyer. You can establish credibility by your demeanor, by your approach in that voir dire. And in fact, long before your client ever speaks, okay? Long before your client ever takes the stand, the jury's going to have an impression of your client on the basis of their impression of you in voir dire and opening statement. And I find that civil lawyers, that lawyers who practice civility, that establish that rapport with the jury right from the outset, can go a long way toward winning their case by their civility in the courtroom, because it's all about our credibility with the jury. That's what it's all about. And you know the old line, first impression is most important impression you make. So juries like nice lawyers. Lawyers like nice lawyers. Let's face it, we're in a profession that it's contentious. It is indeed contentious. But the fact of the matter is, most conflicts need to be resolved by lawyers. Need to be resolved by lawyers talking. Now I'm going to tell you something that's happened to me from time to time in my career. Greg told a great story about experiences that he's had. This is a similar kind of experience. A few times in my career, I have had clients say to me, why are you being nice to the other lawyer? Why are you being nice to this lawyer who sued me? And I always say to them, I say, look, if this case goes to court, I'm going to be standing up for you. I'm going to be speaking for you, okay? But you know something? Right now, the best thing we can do is hold our ground on these things, but we're not going to refuse to shake hands. We're not going to be uncivil. We're going to kill them with kindness if we have to, okay? And I've actually lost a couple of clients over the years who wanted a tougher person in that context. But my own experience is the first thing I do when I hear about a case, when I get a letter or whatever, is I look down and I see who signed that letter, who made that contact, and I think about them and what I know about them, and sometimes I go, you know, this is a good person on this other side of the case. And she's thought a lot about this, okay? And it might get me to thinking immediately at the beginning, this may be something we want to settle rather than something we want to fight to the mat on. On the other hand, if my opponent's a jerk, I don't look forward to it, but I think I have an advantage. Lawyers like nice lawyers. Nice lawyers get things done. In the final analysis, the most important thing we do as lawyers, we're always the leaders in the communities. They always elect us to lead in our churches and our synagogues and groups and whatever, because we know how to accomplish things. We know how to bring people together. We know how to get things done. Yes, it is a contentious profession, but civil lawyers know how to bring people together. I tell the story in the book about Howard Baker's leadership style as a lawyer, his leadership style as a politician. When he was Senate Majority Leader, he would bring in about 20 senators at a time. He was Republican, he'd bring in Democrats as well, and he was a lawyer, he had a legal pad. He was an old-fashioned lawyer, he had a legal pad. And an issue would come up, and he would say, this is the issue that's coming up, I want to hear from everybody. And he wouldn't say anything. He would go around the room and hear from each of them and write notes. And after hearing from everybody, he would then say, this is what I hear everybody saying, and would read back from the notes. And as one senator once said, when Howard read it back, it sounded better than what any of us had said. He knew how to get things done. He knew how to get things done through his strategic civility. I want to close my comments about Seersucker and Civility tonight with this photograph. This photograph, to me, is the best personification of civility in the legal profession that I've seen. It speaks volumes about what we lawyers ought to do and how we ought to conduct ourselves. On the left is Justice Antonin Scalia. On the right is Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This is not a photo op. This is not a photo that was put together. This is a photo of arguably the most conservative member of the United States Supreme Court in the last generation, and arguably one of, if not the most liberal justices in the United States Supreme Court in the last generation. And you know what? They were the closest of friends. They weren't just colleagues on the bench. Every New Year's Eve, until Justice Scalia's death early 2016, the Scalias and the Ginsburgs rang in the new year together. They took vacations together. Antonin Scalia once said, Ruth Bader Ginsburg has made me a better judge. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, Tony Scalia has made me a better judge. They were on opposite ends of the spectrum of legal philosophy and approach. And they respected and admired one another. Howard Baker once said, I've lived my entire life in contentious arenas. For 19 years I was a trial lawyer. For the next 18 years I was in the United States Senate. Then I went back to being a lawyer. Then I became Chief of Staff to President Reagan. Then I became an ambassador. Then I went back to being a lawyer. All my life has been in contentious arenas. And yet I've always tried to remember what my father always told me when I was a boy. Howard, always remember, you other fellow may be right. And that was the kind of strategic civility that got things done. So thank you for inviting me here tonight. Wear seersucker and practice civility. Thank you. Sir.
On behalf of the Arkansas Shores, Robert S. Vance Inn of Court, I have a special granite plaque for you, which says, in grateful appreciation, Arkansas Shores, Robert S. Vance Inn of Court, Birmingham, Alabama, American Inns of Court, Chapter 292.
Very nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And that will conclude our program.